The wind carved through the ice field like a blade against bone. Marcus Vale hunched over his geological scanner, watching seismic readings flicker across the cracked display. 63 days, alone on this frozen moon. Mapping tectonic patterns that nobody back at headquarters seemed to care about anymore. The isolation had become comfortable, almost welcome. After losing his parents and younger sister during the colony collapse on Kepler Station, crowds made his chest tight. Out here, only the wind could hurt him. His scanner beeped twice, then died completely. Marcus cursed softly, reaching for his repair kit. The heating unit hummed behind him, fighting against temperatures that could freeze exposed skin in seconds. He was adjusting a circuit board when he heard something impossible. A sound that did not belong to wind or ice. A cry, human-like but not quite, desperate and fading. Marcus looked up sharply, his tools clattering to the floor. The motion sensor showed nothing. He stood, every instinct screaming that he had imagined it. Then it came again, clearer this time, cutting through the storm's roar. Someone was out there dying in the blizzard. He grabbed his thermal suit and forced his way through the airlock. The cold struck him with brutal force, stealing his breath. Visibility dropped to mere meters. Through the swirling white chaos, he saw movement. A figure stumbled forward, then collapsed into the snow. Marcus ran, his boots sinking deep with each step. As he reached the fallen form, his heart lurched. An alien woman lay crumpled in the drift, her skin a luminescent blue that seemed to glow even in the storm's fury. Her clothing hung in tatters, ice crystals forming across her exposed shoulders. In her arms, wrapped in nothing but a thin cloth, was an infant. The child's lips were dark purple, its tiny chest barely moving. The woman's eyes opened, meeting his. Terror and pleading mixed in that gaze. She tried to speak, her voice cracking with cold and exhaustion. Her words came in a language Marcus did not recognize, musical but broken. Her trembling hand reached into her clothing, withdrawing a necklace that blazed within her light. The crystalline pendant caught the storm's scattered light, refracting it into colors that seemed impossible. She thrust it toward him, pressing it against his gloved palm. The meaning needed no translation. Take this treasure. Let us shelter for one night. Save my daughter. Marcus had heard the stories. These people, the Velanus, were refugees from a world torn apart by resource wars. Some stations called them criminals, claiming they stole and never paid. Others whispered darker things. But looking at this dying mother and her frozen child, Marcus saw only desperation. He gently pushed the necklace back toward her chest. Confusion flooded her face, then fresh fear. She thought he was refusing. Instead, Marcus knelt and carefully gathered both mother and child into his arms. They weighed almost nothing, their bodies desperately cold despite their glowing skin. The woman gasped, trying to pull away with what little strength remained. Marcus held firm but gentle, turning back toward his shelter. He walked through the killing storm, whispering words she could not understand but perhaps felt. You are safe now, both of you. I will not let you die here. Inside the tent, warmth wrapped around them like a blessing. Marcus laid them near the heating unit, his hands moving with practiced efficiency. He had emergency medical training, standard for frontier researchers. Thermal blankets, warming pads, nutrient injections. The scanner showed severe hypothermia, dangerous dehydration, malnutrition, that spoke of weeks without proper food. He worked quickly, attaching monitors, watching the infant's vital signs slowly strengthen. The woman, Nisara, as he would later learn, watched him with wide eyes. Her gaze followed every movement, searching for the trap, the price, the moment when he would demand payment. But Marcus simply worked, his expression focused and gentle. When the child's breathing finally steadied, he sat back and offered Nisara warm broth from his rations. She stared at the cup for a long moment before accepting it with shaking hands, warming. Hearts the storm raged for 3 more days, sealing them together in the small research tent. Marcus monitored Nisara and little Kira constantly, adjusting treatments as colors slowly returned to their blue skin. On the second morning, Kira opened her eyes fully for the first time, making soft cooing sounds. Nisara wept, clutching her daughter close. rocking back and forth while whispering in her melodic language. Marcus prepared food, simple rations made warm and filling. He showed Nasara how to adjust the heating controls, how to access the water dispenser, making sure she understood she could take what she needed. Each act of kindness seemed to deepen her confusion. She kept reaching for the necklace, trying to offer it, and each time Marcus gently refused. Finally, she stopped trying, though her eyes still held questions. Communication developed slowly, built on gestures and context. Marcus pointed to himself and said his name clearly. After hesitation, Nasara whispered hers, the syllables like water flowing over smooth stones. He repeated it carefully, earning a small smile that transformed her face. She was beautiful, he realized, in a way that transcended species. Her features held an elegance that reminded him of winter itself, sharp and pristine and breathtaking. That evening, as Kira slept peacefully, Marcus noticed Nasara struggling with her hair. The white strands had tangled into knots during her ordeal, and she winced as she tried to separate them. Without thinking, Marcus reached out, his hands hovering near her shoulder. Nasara tensed, but did not pull away. He carefully took a section of her hair, working out the tangles with patient fingers. The texture surprised him. Her hair felt cool, like touching snow that somehow remained soft. It reminded him of his sister Alina, how she used to ask him to braid her hair before bed back on Earth. That memory should have broken him. But instead it felt like healing. His hands moved with remembered skill, separating strands, weaving them together. Nasara sat very still, her breathing shallow, her eyes closed. When he finished, Marcus sat back. Nasara's hand rose slowly to touch the braid, her fingers tracing the pattern. She turned to look at him, and something passed between them. Understanding, perhaps. Recognition of shared loss. Her hand reached out, trembling, and touched his cheek. Her palm was cool, but not cold, her touch feather-light. Marcus found himself leaning into it, his eyes closing. They stayed like that for several heartbeats. Then Nasara spoke softly, words he did not understand, but felt in his chest. She pulled her hand back, but the warmth of connection remained. Over the next days, they built a routine together. Marcus taught her basic words, while she taught him hers. They cared for Kira as partners, passing the baby between them, sharing the small joys of her recovery. One afternoon, while Kira napped, Nasara showed Marcus how her people made music. She hummed, the sound resonating strangely in the tense space, almost visual in its quality. Marcus found himself humming back, creating harmonies. They laughed together at the strange sounds, and in that laughter, barriers crumbled further. The storm outside meant nothing. Inside this small shelter, warmth grew that had nothing to do with heating units. On the 8th day, the storm finally broke. Pale sunlight filtered through the tense, translucent panels, painting everything in soft blue light. Marcus stepped outside to check his equipment, while Nasara watched from the doorway. Kira bundled against her chest. The frozen landscape stretched endlessly, beautiful and deadly. Marcus found himself glad for the isolation, for this stolen time before the universe intruded again. Inside, Nasara had prepared a meal using Marcus's rations, somehow making them taste better than he ever managed. They ate together, their knees almost touching in the small space. Kira sat between them, grabbing at Marcus's fingers with surprising strength. He made faces at her, earning delighted giggles that made Nasara smile. That smile did things to his heart he had thought frozen years ago, after the meal. Marcus showed Nasara his geological samples, explaining his research in simple words and gestures. She listened with genuine interest, occasionally asking questions in her improving English. She picked up a crystal formation, turning it in the light, and said something in her language that sounded like poetry. He wished he could understand. She seemed to sense this, leaning close and pointing at the crystal, then at the sky visible through the tent opening. "Same light," she said carefully. Her breath touched his cheek, warm and sweet. Marcus turned his head slightly, finding her face inches from his. Neither moved away. Her luminescent skin seemed brighter up close, patterns swirling beneath the surface like frost forming on glass. "Beautiful," he whispered. Nasara's eyes widened, then softened. She reached up, her cool fingers tracing the line of his jaw. "You saved us," she said quietly, her accent making the words musical. "Why not take treasure?" "Because you needed help," Marcus replied simply. "That is enough." Nasara's eyes glistened. In her culture, everything required payment, Marcus realized. Kindness without cost was foreign, perhaps even frightening. She leaned closer, her forehead touching his. "This is treasure," she whispered. "This moment." Marcus's hand came up to cup her cheek. They stayed suspended, breathing each other's air, until Kira made an impatient sound. They pulled apart, laughing softly, but something had shifted irrevocably. That night, after Kira fell asleep, they sat outside under dancing auroras. The sky blazed with green and purple light reflecting off the ice field. Nasara explained that her people believed auroras were ancestors dancing, celebrating those still living. Marcus told her about his family, about Alina, and how she loved to dance. Tears froze on his cheeks. Nasara wiped them away gently, her touch lingering. She told him fragments of her story then. Her husband died in the wars. Their colony burned. She fled with Kira and dozens of others, scattered across the frontier by hostile forces. She had been traveling for months, working when she could, stealing when she had to, always one step ahead of deportation. Her ship malfunctioned above this moon. She crashed miles away, walking for days through the storm, her supplies gone, hope fading. "I thought we would die in the snow," she said. "Then I heard your machines. I thought you might shoot us." Marcus pulled her close, his arm around her shoulders. "Never," he said fiercely. "You are safe with me, always." Nasara looked up at him, her eyes searching his face. Then she kissed him, her cool lips soft against his. The kiss deepened slowly, tenderly, full of gratitude and something more. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard, the cold air forgotten. They sat under the dancing lights, holding each other, and for the first time in years, Marcus felt completely home. Shadows of the past, the supply ship arrived without warning on the morning of the 10th day. Marcus was outside, repairing his communication array, when the roar of engines shattered the silence. A military transport descended, its hull marked with frontier security insignia. Marcus's stomach dropped. He ran back to the tent where Nasara was feeding Kira. "Hide," he said urgently. She understood immediately, her face going pale. But there was nowhere to hide in the tiny research station. Captain Rhodes emerged from the ship, flanked by 2 armed soldiers. Marcus met them outside, his heart pounding. Rhodes was a hard woman with cold eyes, her uniform crisp, despite the icy wind. "We received a distress signal from this sector," she announced. "Crashed alien vessel. Likely survivors in the area. You seen anything?" Marcus hesitated for just a second too long. Rhodes smiled without warmth. "Inside your tent, I assume?" "Marcus, these are illegal refugees. Criminals wanted for theft across 3 systems. You are required by law to turn them over." Marcus stood his ground, blocking the tent entrance. "She's a mother with an infant. They were dying. I provided emergency aid." "How noble," Rhodes said flatly. "Now step aside." "That is an order." Marcus did not move. Rhodes nodded to her soldiers. They stepped forward, weapons raised. Marcus's mind raced. He had no authority here, no power to protect Nasara and Kira. His research position meant nothing against frontier security. Rhodes pushed past him into the tent. Nisa stood holding Kira, her eyes wide with terror, but her chin raised defiantly. Rhodes looked her over with disgust. "Valona scum. You know what happens to your kind in detention? No trials, no appeals. Just labor camps until you die, or we ship you to the outer dark." Nasara flinched, but said nothing, protecting Kira with her body. Marcus felt something crack inside him. His sister's face flashed through his memory. The moment the colony structure collapsed, his mother shoving him and Alina toward the escape pods. Alina not making it through the doorway. The sound of her scream cut off by falling steel. He had been helpless then, paralyzed by shock. He would not be helpless now, Captain Rhodes Marcus said quietly. If you take them, I will resign my position. I will contact every news network in settled space. I will testify about frontier security forcibly separating a mother and infant, about sending them to labor camps without trial. I have recordings of everything. Rhodes turned slowly, her expression dangerous. You would sacrifice your career for alien criminals. They are not criminals, Marcus said firmly. They are refugees fleeing genocide. And yes, I would sacrifice everything, because it is the right thing to do. Rhodes stared at him for a long moment. Then she laughed, a harsh sound. You are a fool, Vale, but I cannot have that kind of publicity right now. She turned to her soldiers. Stand down. Rhodes stepped close to Marcus, her voice dropping to a whisper. You have 1 hour to get them off this moon. If my patrol finds them anywhere in this sector again, I will arrest all 3 of you. Understand? Marcus nodded, not trusting his voice. Rhodes left, her ship lifting off in a blast of snow and ice. Marcus turned to find Nasara staring at him, tears streaming down her face. You sacrificed your work for us, she whispered. Your life here. Marcus took her hand, squeezing gently. This was never a life, just existence. You and Kira, you made me feel alive again. They have 1 hour. Let me get you somewhere safe. Nasara kissed him desperately, pouring everything she felt into it. Kira gurgled between them, oblivious. Marcus pulled back, smiling despite everything. Come on, I know a place. Let me get you both home. Marcus worked with controlled urgency, packing essential supplies into his personal research vessel. The small ship was not built for passengers, but it would have to work. Nasara helped, despite her obvious fear, her movements quick and efficient. She understood running, Marcus realized. She had been doing it for months. But this time, she was not running alone. The destination was New Haven, a sanctuary colony 3 days away by normal space. It had been established by refugee advocates who refused to enforce the harsh deportation laws. If they could reach it, Nasara and Kira would be safe. Marcus loaded the last of their supplies, then paused at the tent one final time. 63 days of isolation erased in 10 days of connection. He did not regret any of it. They launched within the hour, the small ship straining against the moon's gravity before breaking free. Marcus set the navigation computer for New Haven, then engaged the autopilot. The journey would take them through contested space, areas where patrol ships might stop them. His credentials would help, but there were no guarantees. Nasara sat in the co-pilot seat, Kira sleeping in her arms, watching the stars appear as they left the moon behind. Are you afraid? Marcus asked quietly. Nasara considered this, then shook her head. Not anymore. You are with us. Marcus reached over, taking her free hand. Always, he promised. That night, with the ship on automated flight, they held each other in the tiny sleeping compartment. Kira nestled between them, safe and warm. Marcus kissed Nasara's forehead, her cheeks, her lips, each kiss a promise and a prayer. The second day brought danger. A patrol ship intercepted them, demanding identification. Marcus's credentials checked out, but the officer seemed suspicious. State the nature of your passengers. Marcus kept his voice steady. Research assistants. The Velonis woman is a xenobiologist studying adaptation to extreme cold environments. The infant is her child. All properly documented. It was a complete lie. Marcus had forged the documents during the night. Using skills learned from a misspent youth before he found purpose in geology, the officer hesitated, and Marcus held his breath. Finally, clearance granted. Proceed. The patrol ship disengaged. Marcus let out a shaky laugh. Nasara kissed his cheek, her relief palpable. You are a good liar, she teased. When necessary, Marcus agreed. On the third day, New Haven appeared on their screens, a green and blue world that seemed almost too beautiful to be real. Settlements dotted the visible continents, and orbital stations welcomed ships from across the frontier. Marcus requested docking clearance, identifying himself as a researcher seeking asylum for refugees. The response was immediate and warm. Welcome to New Haven. We have been expecting people like you. The landing was smooth. As they stepped off the ship, Marcus supporting Nasara, who held Kira, they were met by a representative of the Refugee Council. She was human, middle-aged, with kind eyes. "Welcome home," she said simply. Nasara burst into tears, and the woman embraced her gently. "You are safe now. Both of you. No more running." Over the following weeks, Marcus and Nasara settled into life on New Haven. She was given proper medical care, citizenship papers, housing assistance. Kira thrived, growing stronger daily. Marcus found work with the Geological Survey Office, mapping the planet's resources. But more importantly, he found family again. Nasara and Kira filled spaces in his heart he thought would remain empty forever. 6 months after their arrival, on a warm evening under New Haven's 3 moons, Marcus and Nasara stood together watching Kira take her first wobbly steps. The child squealed with delight, falling into her mother's arms. Nasara laughed, then looked up at Marcus with eyes full of love. "Thank you," she said softly, "for hearing my cry in the snow." For not turning away, Marcus pulled her close, kissing her deeply. "Thank you for letting me find you. For teaching me that hearts can heal. That family is not always blood. That love transcends everything, even species and stars." Kira babbled happily between them, and somewhere in the distance, music played. They danced slowly in the fading light. 3 souls who found each other in the frozen dark and chose to walk forward together into warmth and hope and home. The end was just the beginning. And the snow that once threatened to end them became the place where everything started. Where a human heard cries in a storm and chose compassion over fear. Where an alien mother found safety in unexpected arms. Where a child learned that love has no boundaries. Beyond the snow lay infinite possibilities, and they would explore them all, together forever.